Open Sesame, Words Spoken to Unlock the Door of Success, by Janet Young. Axit Core of Psychological Yearbook, San Francisco, 1907. Man may apprehend the infinite, not only in religion but in all things, a very real power, which has held its own from the very beginning of the world. Words spoken to unlock the door of success. Human beings are electrical motors. The mind is an electrical, magical, magnetic force. The will is a driving power, and the spirit an electrical current, connecting mankind with divine power. Divine spiritual power manifests in mankind as the spiritual or electric, subjective mind, and may be summoned, instructed, and commanded to do his bidding. Mind, will, and spirit generate electrical current, the motor power of spiritual energy and activity. By the divine given right of dominion and free will, mankind is empowered and entitled to command this spiritual and contemplative part of the mind which does the deep thinking. This is an age of applied mind power. The accomplishment of practical results is demanded. To determine on accomplishment is almost accomplishment itself. The conscious mind controls electrical forces. The spirit is the potential, direct current converting this electrical energy into mechanical energy. Electricity, an ether movement summoned, controlled and commanded, serves mankind. Thought precedes effort. Resident electrical forces may assume attributes of intelligence emanating from the divine realms, attracting unseen agencies who under God attend mankind and impart wisdom and power in answer to insistent demand. To summon, command and use these forces intelligently is an open sesame, word spoken to unlock the door of success. The electrical resident spirit connects thought with these invisible friends, reflecting perceptions and vital power. Discovering and mastering the laws of attraction governing these realms inspires power to originate and create. These electrical magical privileges are intended to be an open sesame leading to a supply for every demand. The world of mind, when conscious of its powers, is illumined through the reflecting electrical spirit, the medium of union between the omnipotent, omnipresent, manifesting principle and mankind, by whatever nation, individual, or under whatever form, worshipped for good, the infinite, supreme. God is the same animating, informing, all-encircling spirit, governing in all things. The mind advances to higher planes of consciousness, according as the directed thought ascends in understanding and is continually unfolding still higher realms of knowledge. Wonderful orders of intelligences and regions of ideas exist. Heavenly beings, seraphims, cherubims, archangels, angels, ministering spirits and helpers extending to every service rendered, and in every way in which mankind advances, progresses, and is benefited, hierarchs of divine orders who hand down the divine light and guide, and attend mankind. An open sesame and means of manifestation for all nations and individuals. The spiritual or subjective mind is a means of communication with these divine orders of celestial powers. Ideas are invisible existences of external realities. Mind action imparts motion and manifests radiant electrical energy. The more mind action, the greater the results. How to achieve practical results has been a problem of all times. The promises and New Testament teachings of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ bring God nearer to mankind. Special intervention may be evoked to produce material things from the unseen universe. God intends mankind to master the secrets of the world, the riches of the mind attracting the riches of the universe. The divine gift of the spiritual and subjective mind proves the vision. Law governs individual affairs of life and world systems, and magical mind powers attract unseen helpers ready to serve the enlightened will. Persistence creates demands and unfolds opportunities. The Arabian Nights stories symbolize and portray the powers and possibilities of the subjective electrical mind and are, for the world. They are of varied origin, Egyptians, Grecians, Persians, and Orientals, all contributing to their existence. Even the educated classes of the Arabs do not regard the most extravagant relations in the stories incredible. Genii are still believed to exist. The stories are considered to be founded upon still earlier stories and traditions, remodeled so as to picture remote periods of history. The religious and superstitious incident of the stories and their fascination and supernatural romance have secured a hold on readers which has never relaxed. On one collection is inscribed, "Extolled be the perfection of him who has thus ordained the history of former generations to be a lesson to those who follow. The lamp may symbolize the illuminating spirit, the will, the mind, the reason, the powers of mankind, of faith and belief, a light to guide the way and the path of all truth, power and success, an open sesame for all. Aladdin implored divine protection and thanked God for deliverance and said, "There is no power or strength but in the great and high God." All countries have their belief in folklore, fairies, and supernal beings. The Bible chronicles supernatural and angelic ministrations. The early church fathers advocated the intercession of hierarchs of higher orders of beings who hand down the divine light to the faithful believers and act as intermediaries between God and mankind. We know the universe to be governed by a divine principle. These divine beings are a bond of union, an open sesame between the finite and the finite, manifesting the immanence and accessibility of God. There is a correspondence between the revelations of the Bible, seers, the accounts of the holy celestial visions of the saints of the church, the absorption of the mystics, and the symbolic magic words "open sesame" of the Arabian, stories representing and expressing a continuous, conscious realizing power of mankind through commanding the spiritual or subjective mind forces, an open sesame to power and successful achievement. The subjective mind power is of divine origin, and its command and use was authorized when man was given dominion. The Christian scientists affirm an open sesame when teaching everything we wish is in the silence, or the all-good awaiting our recognition to become manifest. The silence is the time of the soul of the mystics who maintain that in meditation and calm and holy contemplation, they have direct communion and communication with the divine spirit and acquire knowledge of divine things and receive impressions of true knowledge. In this practical age, all are seekers, and the number continually becoming more numerous. The whole world is electric, with energy, the magical mind, will, and spirit intelligently summoned and instructed, commanding marvelous results. The Arabian stories counsel the worship of God, and on the magic carpet of vivid description, reveal the powers and possibilities of mankind, and may be one of the digits of the hand of God pointing to progress. From the dawn of the history of the world, existences of wonder workers and influences above the ordinary or known have been believed. All miracle workers believe in the nearness of the unseen. The Arabian stories may portray the spirit that inspired Columbus, the American spirit of independence, as well as the magical word of open sesame. To our heroic, enthusiastic, earnest, and zealous ancestors, we are indebted for the foundation of our glory. Solomon obtained wisdom by prayer. The Egyptians believed human beings to be composed of the body, the divine spark, and that which connected the body and the divine spark, and prayed for sacred blessings. Wonders have already been accomplished, and only in the beginning. Mind attention summons mind forces and draws constructive power in actuality corresponding to the quality of the thought sent out. This, at one time known to but few, is now, comparatively speaking, shared by many. Recognizing the God-given dominion and powers of free will, blessings numberless as the stars, and wonders surpassing imaginings may be revealed and realized. Bible statements and early philosophy are now being scientifically proved that the electrical energy of the mind, will, and spirit is subject to law, has been demonstrated. The subjective mind is the spiritual estate of mankind. In this vibratory domain, the electrical spirit transmits and receives messages. The mind is interpenetrated by impressions from the higher planes of intelligence and existences of helpers, to which the thought is directed by fixity of purpose. The subjective mind is the vehicle of the spirit, and maintained and intense thought stimulates mental activity. Pursuing ideas leads to being pursued by impressions of answers to ideas. Recognition of and training of mind power is of practical importance. Thought creates an ether movement of informing and reflecting vibrations. Autosuggestion is a mental conversation with the subjective mind, conveying instructions and requests and generating and commanding power to receive replies. I can and I will serve as an open sesame. The knowledge and powers of the subjective mind are being more generally understood. Its powers and means of information must be of divine origin, as they can be accounted for and explained in no other way. In proportion as the subjective mind is trained and trusted, will it respond by inspiring thoughts of confidence and impressions of practical ideas. Reiteration is the name given to persistent autosuggestion or instructions to the subjective mind powers. and is a law of the constructive and creative process of thought building and a means or plan for continually expanding. Progress. Acquired energy animates effort. To obtain objects sought for. Electricity is revealing wonders. Early philosophers traced all things to the animating, informing ether. Modern philosophers and scientists reiterate this and prove its vibratory powers. The magical wireless telegraphy demonstrates the elements summoned, commanded, and serving mankind. The spirit of the individual is identical with the spirit of God, affirmed the early philosophers. Modern mind students proclaim the marvelous powers of the subjective mind and agree that it has means of information and resources which demonstrate its divine source. The early philosophers affirmed that the deity stands in the relation of a giver to mankind, granting what is asked, and that those who displayed more aptitude than others sought for and obtained more of the informing spirit. The Arabian stories tell of the wonder-working lamp and of its attending servers, and of the magical word of open, Sesame. In our era, we are rubbing the lamp of the electrical magical mind and reason, and our thinkers are proving that the infinite and supreme ruler of the universe will honor the demands of mankind. The mystic assures in holy contemplation, direct communion with the Spirit of God. Students of mind science have proved that when the conscious mind is centered upon a purpose, the subjective powers will faithfully perform instructions given to it, and that with training and practice, it will act more intelligently with each experience. Belief and faith are requisite and stimulate and encourage its powers. Instructions promote and produce perceptions. Intense feeling evolves ideas. These auto-suggestions put the subjective mind at work, manifesting the divine plan in self-realizing ideals. In the subjective mind powers, will and persistent effort secures an invaluable ally and helper for all endeavor. Concentration upon plans desired directs the will and mind toward information to obtain results. These powers must be felt, and reiteration trains feeling. Magical forces are in every individual, eager and ready to serve the enlightened will. Knowledge and wisdom are first revealed inwardly, dwelling on possible attainment, disclosing spirit impelling energy. Practical knowledge may be obtained by observation and experience. Those who do wonders work with God. By partaking in part of divine power, one of God's gifts to mankind, wonder work. Angels accomplishing all things for mankind, forces of intelligence, energizing the resident electrical mind powers, mines of gold, precious gems and metals, and all valuable discoveries have yielded to demand and energy, the spirit, the breath, dominion, free will, all bestowed by God, are electric with his power, inspiring mankind to go forth and find. Hierarchs preside over the divine orders of the universe, who illuminate the intellect with intelligence and are an open sesame to mankind. The Arabian stories counsel the worship of God and our studies in cheerfulness, gratitude, hope, and worship, and depict the reward of those who by agreeable and entertaining endeavor make themselves valuable, all effort for good, creating opportunities by the magic of the electrical mind power. These stories portray individuals guarded by helpers who may be summoned and commanded to protect and assist mankind. These surrounding influences may picture the marvelous subjective forces communicating and transmitting power to the seeker through identity with the animating universal forces. Earnest and intense desire attract these powers of reflex forces. May not open sesame symbolize autosuggestion? May not open sesame symbolize the potency of I can and I will? May not open sesame symbolize all effort? The story of the voyager who overheard the appeal to God of his carrier, saying, Almighty God, what has he done to obtain from thee a lot so agreeable? Describes the voyager answering by giving the carrier a perpetual invitation to his feasts, honoring him by placing him at his right hand at his table, and bestowing upon him gifts and riches, thus illustrating the efficiency of prayer. These stories spur mental activity. They picture all classes of people and individuals, and depict what may be some, moaned and commanded by determined will. To reach the heights has always been attended by industry. Aladdin, removing the stone, discovered a palace and 3 great halls. The palace of the mind. Powers reveals the halls of wisdom. Knowledge and understanding leading to all truth and power. Rubbing the lamp of belief and faith illumines powerful agencies, summoned by the will and electric God-given spirit to exercise and command them. In these Arabian stories, the recipients of gifts and favors and privileges thanked and blessed God and expressed gratitude for health blessings and benefits. Caution is extolled, which may also symbolize reason, They counsel the worship of God, honoring the divine principle of the universe, animating all substance, and accessible to all. Happiness, the good things and luxuries of the world acquired by right methods and with reason, are for all to enjoy. The powers and resources of the mind, will and spirit are an open sesame to unlock the door of success. The spirit of the elements has inspired genius in all ages of the world. Special responsive influences emanating from divine sources answer and eagerly serve. The faithful, magical powers await early applied energy. The forceful have unlimited powers at their command. The vigilant observer awakens effective electrical forces. Introspection affords views of constantly expanding, serving, helpful agencies, energizing vibrations of inspiration and power. There are many ways of accomplishing the same result. God is over all. A sage said, seek, persist, and ask the omnipotent within, remind it of its promises, and keep it awake, and we shall receive that for which we ask and find that for which we seek. God's power is shared in part by those who by will and faith seek and use these channels of forces, which respond to effort. Supply awaits demand and energy of thought and action. These Arabian stories portray the value of prayer and thanksgiving to God. Their worship and attitude towards God was most intimate, asking for what was wished. In a confident and expectant manner, these stories are for the world and extol the perfection of him who has thus ordained the history of former generations to be a lesson to those who follow. The virtues of the past should be emulated, the errors avoided. The stories commend the good and picture the awakening of the higher powers, revealing the hidden treasures and possibilities of mankind. Open sesame, word used to unlock the door of success, is for all. The universe is inexhaustible in sources of supply. The services of the elements, the earth, and all nature await recognition and action. God reproduces his power in mankind through the electrical, all-encircling spirit. Mind images and impressions vary with the quality and direction of thought consciousness. Soul power supplies the motor, action for practical accomplishment. The plan and object desired kept constantly in view, and before the mind attracts the services of electrical spiritual forces from the abiding place of ideas. Divine orders of beings preside over the intelligences and influences who hand down the divine light to mankind, the seraphims higher than the cherubims, archangels. Angels, divine orders of wisdom and understanding, all who help and serve mankind, or in any way confer benefits and power on humanity, health, prosperity, happiness. All things sought for good await the seeker, the industry of the mind, an open sesame to achievement. Thinking creates ideas, directing the faculties of the mind at will, and has been compared to be similar in action to the telephone transmitting thoughts in certain desired directions and receiving ideas and inspirations in response. The vibratory ether transmits the thought, it interpenetrates the plane corresponding to the idea sent out and communicates answering perceptions of creative intelligence. This appears to be the method of the mind process. Specific instructions given the spiritual subjective mind that in conscious contemplation does. The deep thinking brings the information before the objective mind, or the part of the mind in general use, and presupposes that the mind is served by illumination, conveying, informing, answering intelligence corresponding to requests. Train and use these subjective mind powers the divine medium through which ideas may be received and transformed into electric action. By this power, one conquers. Roused into activity by autosuggestion, intense feeling awakens latent faculties and knowledge of the laws governing the subjective powers, may master and control events. Persistent reiteration proves and reveals the vision. Human beings have celestial energy attracting power. Light reproduces itself and creates, by the vibratory process, reflecting ideas in answer to continuous particular insistency. Persistency in seeking for opportunities creates them spiritual gifts manifesting to everyone as he will. The infinite communicates with the finite through the spirit. The mind may be instructed and trained to be on the alert for practical ideas, thus stimulating the innate capacities of inventive genius. These principles practically applied discover new experiences and advance mental and physical activity acquired through following the laws governing the subjective or spiritual mind power. Occupying the mind with high ideals attracts thought from higher realms. Thought may become an art. Answering many of life's inquiries, the divine principle in mankind, realizing mind imagery. Self-realizing powers are constantly in process of unfoldment. Each advance verifying a vision of progress, disclosing still further possibilities. Reiteration holds the mind on the purpose. Steady contemplation keeps the subject before the mind. Belief strengthens the faith that the object and ideals are attainable. To think hard enough images realities, and effects results. The subjective powers are impelling. Every ambition, aspiration, unusual idea, plan, or endeavor for betterment is possible and comes from the subjective mind and should be heeded. The objective exercises free will and the reasoning powers, and the two minds or two parts of one mind in harmonious action effects the results. Artistic inspirations, genius, impulses, emotional involuntary action of memory are all creative gifts and attributes of the spiritual or subjective mind region, and may act in harmony with the divine agents and all-encircling power. Reason must control. Teamed results effected are not chance. Ascending thought attracts descending power and assistance of superior intelligences, invisible to vision, but visible in results. These God-given subjective powers can be accounted for in no other way, but by acknowledging their divine origin. The realm of the subjective mind powers, and its faithful and guiding service by which special intervention is evoked, is holy ground. The elements respond. The expectant, attentive mind receives impressions. Auto-suggestion instructs and trains, and belief and faith promotes and proves the laws governing the activity and powers of the spiritual or subjective mind. Ideas have counterparts in the realms of intelligence ready to be attracted. Soul contact with soul discloses and demonstrates soul power and secrets radiating from these divine realms. Hidden mysteries and visions of superhuman splendor have been revealed by prayer and mystic contemplation. Christian scientists affirm that their presentation of truth enhances the mental and physical powers and gives ability to exceed the ordinary capacities, and that the human mind imbued with spiritual understanding has greater endurance, extending the influence of thought, giving mortals access to broader and higher realms. Christian science is worthy of and merits admiration and respect. It is a practical presentation and application of the Bible. God gave mankind free will, and dominion and reason should govern. All hierarchs preside over orders of divine beings, extending over every service rendered to mankind. We are spiritual beings having access to and partaking in a degree of divine power. These divine influences and helpers may be attracted by thought and summoned and commanded to serve mankind. Deep feeling, vivifying, mind imagery to be manifested in effects. Persistency is motor. A fun may think to order. The more perfect the belief and faith in the subjective powers, the more improvable by instruction, and the greater the command of its activities and powers. Harmony is essential. Faith is dynamic. In effect, thought is interpenetrating and interchangeable, its quality directing the plane or sphere of intelligence it enters, assuming that conditions have an existence and an abode. By fixity of thought, vibrations are communicated and sent out by the thinker, and answering comprehensive thought received and established. The more intense the personality, the more conscious the thought impressions. The more the infinite plan is grasped, the greater the mind mastery and supremacy attained, and mankind's dominion asserted. Educating the subliminal subjective mind or soul power sets one free. The objective is the consciousness of other things. The subjective is self-consciousness, said a philosopher early in the last century. Intense concentration is commanding the attention of certain thoughts to the exclusion of others. This power at hand and at command thought will follow the leading of the thinker. It is the table and feast spread before mankind, and God's presence is felt to be imminent and real. Prayers and frequent thoughts of power through access to God attract indefinitely sustained creative inspirations of all intelligence. Soul forces send forth flashlights of celestial illumination. Countless numbers of helpers respond to the seeker. The will is untrammeled. God created mankind spiritual beings, and in proportion as the spiritual or subjective mind powers are cultivated and God's help asked, will answers and rewards be received. God intended mankind to conquer by awakening the innate divine powers. These dominant electric forces of the world serve mankind in the affairs of life. In all countries and individuals has this all-encompassing power been manifested. Life is what one makes of it. Those who seek for blessings and happiness every day will have blessings and happiness every day, said a thinker. Open Sesame, word spoken to unlock the door of success, symbolizes the magic in the mind, manifesting the method of materialized thought when believed, lived and practiced. These thoughts taught and expressed in all times must be reiterated. The vision is seen. It can be proved the spiritual or subjective mind powers vivifying results and proving the magic in the mind. The subjective power would seem to be a distinct or separate being, yet controlled by the one being. If to think of human beings having two separate minds, each under certain conditions capable of distinct powers, or one mind possessing certain attributes and powers under some conditions, and certain attributes and powers under other conditions, it seems as though the same philosophy might apply to the whole being, the spiritual being inspiring and commanding powers and forces for the material being to manifest and constantly attracting higher thought, and the services of the higher powers and hierarchs of the divine orders of beings who hand down the divine light to mankind to inspire the intelligence and energize the activities of the material body. These reflections and meditations unfold the powers and possibilities of mind command. All are manifestations of the one great universal force, the origin and cause of all things, constantly in process of realization. Open Sesame is a master word for all mankind to transform the ore of knowledge into secrets of gold. Open Sesame, a word spoken to symbolize and summon and command the power in the mind, a key to unlock the door of success. Intuition teaches that the earnest longings of the soul will be heard and answered, proving the existence of the bond of union between the individual and the responsive principle of the universe. The electric motor power of the spiritual subjective mind imparts action to conscious thought to reflect and reproduce constructive, creative power and forces. An open sesame for every demand from the all-encircling source of all supply. 32.